This is an open letter for Mr. Elon Musk. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine. Um, I just enjoyed your interview with Tucker Carlson, and it was for the first 45 minutes. Frankly, was excruciating. But then everything made sense. The rest of it made sense, but for the first 45 minutes was a little excruciating and to listen to. And I say why. I enjoyed the rest of it, you know, great, beautiful. But the first 45 minutes, it was, difficult to listen to because here's the thing I feel you and Mr. Tucker Carlson uh, either not getting or not pretending not to get. Or am I the stupid one? You have nuances of crime, let's call it. Nuances of what you consider as crime. It's your description of Jeffrey Dahmer and who he was and what he was, and then the axe murderer in the streets around Twitter. Your your description of them is sort of like basically saying that this is inevitable, or this is you just got to clean them up. You either shoot them down or take him into custody. Sure. But when you go to, and say, okay, but, the other crimes, they also should be prosecuted to the greatest extent of the law. It becomes irritating because then you stop realizing that there are nuances to crime. There is a crime, just like there's a crime of passion. Also, there is a crime of desperation. There is a crime of resentment. There is a crime of necessity. And then there is a crime of no reason. There is a crime of, okay, here's the axe murderers. You see what? The axe murderers, yes, please remove them all. But the rest of the crimes, what you consider as crime, uh, let's consider this. For example, the worst crime on your continent that was, committed by some fanatic people. 9/11. That was a crime, but it wasn't a crime of axe murderers. It was a crime of resentment. A bunch of Arabs who has been taking it up the ass from the pink-skinned people from the northern hemisphere. They resent the fact that they're taking it up the ass. Still, there are semi-colonies in West Asia, semi-colonies by force of Israel. So that was a crime of resentment, 9/11. This is not something that you can, hold the criminal liable. Okay, hold the criminal liable. What are you going to do with the resentment of the Arab folks? I mean, King of Jordan has to be much more stern with his own people than anybody else because, all his people are very resentful of him and Israel, for example. Then crime of resentment starts getting tagged as terrorism. Well, if there is a crime of resentment, why don't you want to hear what the fuck they have to say and see if a better situation can be brought about? Better situation can be brought about so nobody would be resentful. I mean, you're screwing the Arabs up the ass in West Asia, for example. The pink-skinned Northern Hemisphere is screwing the Arabs in West Asia for 75 years now, and then while you're screwing them, you're saying that why are you resentful of us? why are you resentful of us? I mean, the whole idea of Saddam Hussein was actually brought to power by the white man, and then persuaded to attack its neighbors by the white man. I actually do remember in the radio announcement that the foreign minister of Uncle Sam's land said, that's before Gulf War One, Father Bush, which supposedly had a great reason to go in to free the Kuwaitis. So I do remember that the Uncle Sam's foreign minister basically said that, yeah, we really don't care what the Arabs do on that side of Asia. That was exactly the time that Saddam Hussein was actually telling Uncle Sam's managers that I need Kuwait. Kuwait is sucking oil out of my land from underground, and then I need to have deep. I need to have ports, some ports by the fucking ocean. This is a big country, Iraq, and doesn't have access to an ocean, no warm water access. One of the cradles of civilization, the British made it into a landlocked nation. Anyway, my point is this, sir. There are crimes of resentment. Now, all the Arab world, all the Arab world, I can say for sure, resents what the white man. The white man has been doing some bad shit over there in West Asia for a very long time, and the Arabs have been, pardon my French, taking it up their ass. You don't see resentment coming about, but then you call that by different name. That is terrorism. Okay. Well, you can bring that into a domestic scene as well. You say those people who punch women in New York City, those are also bad criminals, although they're committing exactly the same kind of crime of resentment. You see what I'm saying? You can make resentment, you can criminal resentment to a large extent by calling everybody who's not you a terrorist. that creates resentment amongst many people who say, well, I'm not you and I'm also not a terrorist. You see what I'm saying? Why are you calling me a terrorist? Because I have those people, everybody in the Arab world resents the white man right now, but anybody, but some of them choose to you know do harm out of their resentful state, because of their resentful state. If they do that, you just can't call them Jeffrey Dahmer. And you can't call them terrorists because, well, they are terrorizing, yeah, but, that's a crime of resentment. Why not go fix what is causing this resentment? The Arab population in Uncle Sam's has said we are not going to vote for either one because both of you apparently are okay with this. A whole lot of people getting blown up in the process as collateral damage. Apparently everybody, all white people are okay with this. At least all the white people in charge are okay with this. So out of resentment, they're not voting. That's a crime of resentment. Well, not voting is not a crime, but because of the resentment, they don't vote. Then, you frustration, resentment. Picture this. Here's the problem, Mr. Musk, if I may say, that you are part of the 1%. Now, 9 out of 10 who land in the 1% are there because of royalty. 1% are there because of ability. You and other couple of these titans who started from very small scale, you are the exception. You are 1/10 of the 1%. The other 9/10 are there because of royalty that's been handed down to them. Unfortunately, because you're part of them, you don't, realize a lot of things at the street level. Therefore, because of your abilities, you reach the 1% and you don't understand people who don't have that ability. They won't have that ability if they read 5,000 books, because here's the thing. One of the characteristics of high IQ is photographic memory. In order to make it, you have to connect the right points. In order to connect the right points, you have to know all the right points and remember. You have to remember all the points by having, for example, a photographic memory with a high IQ. If you know all the facts, then you can connect the dots much better, all the relevant facts, which somebody with ability like you can. But you don't understand that people don't have that ability. Even if they read 5,000 books, they won't remember enough bullet points to connect the dots. Rarely do. They rarely can do that because they can't remember all the books that they have read, because they don't have photographic memory. They have impressions of the books they have read, but not what it said on the chapter 152, paragraph 3. What did it say? Excuse me. So the point is this: you don't understand. You don't understand, and those 9 out of 10, they're so out of the 1%. That 9/10 of the 1% are so out of touch that they also don't understand. Apparently, Mr. Carlson is one of them. So he's there for royalty. Apparently, he comes from a family of builders. They built something great and was handed down. So he has lost touch with men with average abilities, because he started way up ahead. And you got way up ahead because of your extraordinary abilities. But the regular people, imagine this, uh, a thought exercise. 5 guys, 30-ish, doing petty jobs, a waiter here and a waiter there, actor, part-time actor, a full-time waiter at 35, or whatever, carrier, other petty blue-collar jobs, what you call blue-collar on your planet. These people are not getting enough added productivity out of the society for as income, in order to go out there, as you stated, to have the family and have children. They're not getting there. Now imagine 4 of these guys living in the 2-bedroom apartment in somewhere in Brooklyn, and they are there because there's some job is there. There's no job in Oklahoma. There's some job in there, but the job pays shit. So 4 of them have to stay in the same apartment and not even think about a family, because they can barely afford their space within that apartment. So you are saying to that this is, if he feels resentful because of his situation, in how the society has made this shit work. There is no need for physical labor. So people who are good at physical labor, I guess, you live 6 in a room, 5 in a room, because we don't care for physical labor, so we don't pay for it. Okay, and you're going towards nobody requiring any mental labor from anybody either. So everybody has to become an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, if you have abilities, you can become an entrepreneur, even a shitty one. There's not just Mr. Bezos. Mr. Bezos bought out 50 different entrepreneurs who were bought out and merged themselves, or bought out and merged by themselves, and Jeff Bezos basically outrun them all, or bought them all. But the point is this: all those entrepreneurs had abilities. If you don't have abilities, you can't be an entrepreneur. 90% of society, you know, they don't even have the funds to be an entrepreneur. Here's a solution, sir. Mrs. Harris came up. Here's the thing I like. I like the Democratic Party for their domestic policies, and I like Republican Party's foreign policy. Republican Party's isolationist foreign policy is the best way out of a great debt situation. It's sort of like you look a bit, try to put your own house in order, so basically you stop spending all that shit abroad, so that help, believe me, helps abroad if all that money is not turned into bomb and sent on top of their head, and it helps your image a lot better. So Republican foreign policy, but the Republican domestic policy is worse than the Democratic domestic policy. But for example, but the Democratic domestic policy needs tweaking. You know how you can reach to that level of, okay, there's no labor for everybody has to take care of themselves, and therefore everybody has to become an entrepreneur because almost everything has become automated. To start that in realistically, Mrs. Harris is saying that I'm going to give $50,000 to anybody who has a business idea and wants to. That's going to create a lot of inflation. What is not, that's a great idea the Democrats have. What is not is the better idea than $50,000 cash loan, grant. Better than that is if 40 acres and a mule, updated to 40 acres and a tractor, given freely from the government land to male ages 18 to, let's say, 35. Males ages 18 to 35 can apply. We will give you 40 acres of land and a tractor and construction loan. And we will, come check, and you have to do it with permits and all of that. And that will not bring inflation. And that will generate whatever entrepreneurial, spirits that there is. It's a 40 acres and a tractor, not $50,000 cash. And without the ability for those people who get the land, without ability to sell or lease it for 25 years. Either you have to leave it there, or you have to work on it. You can't sell it or lease it. And I think if there is any spirit of entrepreneurial, if you want your population to grow in any way, considerable way, that's the only way to do it. 40 acres and a tractor. You want to give it black folks who are held back an advantage, make the black folks, for black males between 18 and 35, 80 acres and a tractor. Give them double the acreage. And give, the rest who weren't slaves, from Asians to Indians to white and to, yellow and green, you give them 40 acres and a tractor. Age 18 to 35. Instead of, go the way you're going towards World War II, World War III, to basically means you turn all these people that you can turn into entrepreneurs on lands, you turn all these folks into soldiers and you get them killed. To the sane society. Yeah, Mrs. Harris, 40 acres and a tractor for white men, 80 acres and a tractor for black men, and without the ability to sell or lease the land for 25 years at least. And this is the only way, with construction loans, available construction loans on 0% interest. You gotta put the money out there somehow. Better put the money with zero interest. You have to put the money out with zero interest out there because nobody can pay the interest on your previous loans, including yourself. Anyway, my point is this, Mr. Elon Musk, the democratic, without all this, gay stuff and trans this and trans that stuff, without these stuff, the Democrats have a better. It was the Democrats who provided some kind of health care for unfortunate individual who can't find a job with these corporations. They didn't have any insurance before Obamacare. If you could find a job with the corporation, you had health insurance. If you didn't, sorry, there's no individual. Individual health care is prohibitively expensive it was prohibitively expensive before Obama. My point is this, sir. So the democratic domestic policy is better. It's just that land and a tractor would produce a much better results. But back to the crime thing. Imagine that for those 5 people, males that are right now sitting in Brooklyn, they don't have their 40 acres and a mule and a tractor. They don't have that. They're living in 4 people in an apartment in Brooklyn and providing services, blue-collar services that are not worth much. In a big city, labor's value is going towards zero. Especially blue-collar labor has been near zero in value for a very long time, since you came up with steam engines. Anyway, my point is this, that what he's been given in the society in terms of number units of currency is not enough for him to go buy for his 40 acres and a tractor and get 0% interest for construction. If he can't do that, and he can't start a family, and he can't have 5 children, he's resentful. Sometimes the younger ones with less discipline, this resentful mindset becomes a resentful act of punching obviously well-dressed, well-to-do women walking around in New York in the face. That's a crime of resentment. He can't do what it's natural to him because all the money has gone up, and most of that money has turned into land by very, very wealthy people. Hawaii is owned by like 3 people. In another 30 years, the whole of Hawaii Island is owned by like 5 people. Nobody else is living there because unless people who provide services to these 5 people. You see where I'm going with this? So this is where you're going, and it's the wrong way. What you're asking is, and when Gavin Newsom, I don't know the gentleman, but when you said that he told you that, if we do this, if we try to prevent these crimes of resentment, a lot of these lootings are crimes of resentment. They're fucking looting chips. It's mostly a crime of resentment against the system which has kept them poor and out of options. Brought them to the cities, but there is no work in the cities. Not much physical work in the cities, which 50% of population are always good only at physical labor. Working in the city, physical labor jobs are not available. These people fall into poverty and living the way they're living with their abilities. Again, they're not a genius. They don't have photographic memory. They have very humble abilities. You're basically telling them, no, you with your humble abilities, you don't need to reproduce. You stay in the city and live 4 in a room. And you don't think these people see rich people, especially rich women in their society, as they resent the whole society. Not just rich people, but rich people is a symbol of that type of society that you have put together. So poor people resent rich people, start resenting rich people more and more, especially because that 1% becomes, extraordinary rich, and the 90% become more and more poor, and the lower class becomes more and more. It's a situation exactly the 1920s of the same land, in Uncle Sam's land. The robber barons and the rest of society who was eating trash, picking through the trash to find something to. If the roaring let's put it this way, the roaring 20s, like the roaring 2020s, it's roaring for a few, the 1%. It's not very roaring for the rest, because they're living 4 males in a house because they can't afford their own house and 40 acres of land. It's all going to the robber barons, of which you are one. Here's the robber barons. Here's the thing, sir. Crime of resentment, you have to look for solutions as to find out what is causing these people to resent. They resent the rich people that they have to pass. The guy is making in a month what a guy comes into a restaurant that he waits in and spends on a meal. He makes like $3,000, $5,000 a month. Great salary as a head waiter, and the guy comes in and drops $5,000 in the place that he works. Somebody drops in and drops $5,000 on a meal for four, average meal for four. What he spends on a meal, and he spends that almost every night in the same restaurant, or like 4 nights a week in the same restaurant. You don't want this guy to tell his roommates how resentful he is that somebody is spending $5,000 for a meal, what he makes in a month, and it's barely enough to pay for his rent with three other guys and maybe a child support. My point is this, sir. There are different crimes. You have to look for a solution. And other things, you and Mr. Carlson, you guys look at drugs as, you also got involved, but you go through the drugs from the high end. A lot of people who go through, drugs in the low end, they don't become homeless because they were a drug addict. Most of the time, they become drug addicts because they're homeless. I repeat again. First they become homeless, then they become drug addicts. Not the other way around. You Tucker Carlson, the people in the 1% or who are in touch with the 1%, see themselves as 1%. Look at people as saying that, he became a drug addict, then he became homeless. It happens, but that's a minority of cases, I bet you. Majority of cases is people become homeless. That means basically whatever skills they had to offer society, with whatever education the society had provided them, that skill, that civility, that skill, that skill set, mindset, that was not provided to them. This is what they have to work with, and the system has said, sorry, no, we don't need you, drop dead. At that situation, you're homeless, sitting with four other people in a back alley that those four other people know that the cops don't check. So it's safe for now. We can stay a few nights until the cops come and check. You're sitting there and you're cursing yourself and your parents for bringing you into this world. And then one of the guys opens up a packet and there's a powder in there, and four of them starts smoking this powder. and they start seem to have having a conversation which you don't feel a part of. It's not peer pressure. This is you're on your ass homeless at the back of an alley. You curse yourself and your last name, and you see four other guys have reached the level that, through that drug, have reached a mindset that they really don't care. They're sitting in their own shit. You're telling me that he will want to stay out of that? So you think that the guy, the safe driver, the guy who goes out that but doesn't drink, is having a good time, having a better time? No, it's all about experiences, and having a better time is better than having a worse time. And this gentleman sitting here on his ass, on his own shit, feels that he needs to get on the same wavelength as those people around him, especially because he has to keep friends with these four, because one of them knows where he can find his next meal. One of them knows where to go next if the cops come and push them out of this prime location at the back of an alley. One of them knows where to go for shower. So he needs these people. So he gets involved in whatever they're smoking just to, feel better, or at least does not feel as ashamed as when has his sanity. And you're trying to tell me that this is his problem? No, I don't think so. You're trying to tell me that this should be clamped down on. The drugs are people become become homeless because they were drug addicts. No, no. Middle class, those who can stay middle class, they haven't seen cocaine, they haven't seen crack, they don't want to see crack or cocaine or anything else. Or they can afford the high end, and they don't care for the low end either. The people who start using the chemicals on the low end are the desperate ones on the back of an alley, and they're homeless. They've been homeless for a while, so they pick it up from each other because they want to fit. They want to, fit into the group that has become their tribe. You smoke whatever the tribe smokes. And if your tribe is a bunch of homeless people, then you smoke whatever the tribe smokes, and that happens to be different chemicals, or inject, or whatever, different chemicals, because the tribe has chosen that this is the tribe of the unwanted. It's like, do you care if you used to have these colonies of disfigured people? Do you care if they use opium? No, they're disfigured. Well, these people are functionally disfigured in the society because the society didn't need their skills. So they were out of an income. Universal basic income is a good idea, along with 40 acres and a tractor for men ages 18 to 35 is even better. 40 acres and a tractor, and it's zero interest loans and universal basic income. Go over there, sit their ass down, and try to make something. That's the way to go. So my point is this: crimes are different, Mr. Musk. Crimes of resentfulness, you have to go look for the roots. You can't clamp down. The reason Gavin Newsom told you that this is, if we clamp down, it's going to black and brown people, because it's black and brown people are first poorer in the society because their skills, they don't have as sharp a mind as maybe the Asians, not the Indians, the other Asians. They don't have as sharp a mind, so they're lagging behind in math and reading, and this. It's not. It is what it is. It's not their fault. What they have on offer apparently is not enough for them to eat and send their children to good schools, because good schools cost money. Because you spend your monies, your money on, fireworks on the other side of the planet and not spending on educating your children. Again, these are all crimes of resentment. Look for the cause. Don't try to cure the symptom by putting people in jail. That's the reason Mr. Newsom told you it's black and brown, because it is black and brown. And if you want to, then you don't have enough prisons to put them in. If you want to cure it the way you want to cure it, Mr. Musk, you have to actually put a wall in the middle of the city and say that's the poor side of the city. We don't want them on the rich side of the city because they're resentful of their poverty. They punch our women and they shit on our cars. But then you have to put up a wall, something like the kind of wall that Israel has put around the Palestinian areas. We want these people closed off. They're resentful towards us because, in case of Los Angeles, because you took their money, and in case of, people of Palestine, because you took their land. So they're resentful. You're telling Mr. Elon Musk, you're telling Gavin Newsom that you should prosecute all of these, and what he knows that if he has to prosecute all of these petty theft under $1,000, which are crimes of resentment, crimes of necessity, crimes of want, crimes of lack of civilization, because the education system sucks too. So my point is this: Gavin Newsom knows that if he has to prosecute all these all the time, he has to turn half of the city, put a wall in between, and close it off, because it's that many people who are participating in these crimes. Again, a lot of it is a crime of resentment. For one, looting. This is a crime of resentment. Look for how you can fix it. Why are they resentful? Because the guy makes what in a month what he sees many people on a weekly basis come and spend on a lunch, and they all both live in the same city. You don't want them to be resentful, and that the differences in units. With that kind of unit, he could have a family. With the number of unit currencies that you're providing him, he can't have a family. He's doing his best he can for the job, but apparently it's not enough. The job is not necessary, so he's paid shit. And they keep threatening him that if he's not willing to do the work for shit, there is always a robot who we can put in his place. Great. There are nuances to crime. And, there are so many resentful people because 90% of the society has become the poor. 80%, 60% of society, 70% of society has joined the lower class. Although many don't want to admit it, that's why the credit card debts are high in heaven, because they don't want to admit that they don't have the spending power because they're not provided with the appropriate number of unit currencies. Why? Because the Walton family has all this wealth that they have accumulated, that I guess is doing some kind of good, but when the children of the land are not being educated, I'm not sure what the fuck the money in your hand, what kind of what better is your money doing in your hand if it's not, what can be better than educating the children of your tribe? What can be more important than educating the children of your tribe? So if this money that is accumulated in the 1%'s hand, the money that is accumulated in a 1% hand has no better use than educating their children of their tribe. But they're not doing it, are they? They're forcing these people to live four males in a room and four females in a room because they can't afford to be out somewhere minding their own business because being that land is privately owned. Well, either privately owned, one person owns so much, or the government owned. And if you're going to keep them in the cities, you have to provide them with enough unit currency for them to have their family in the cities, which I don't recommend. Cities are dead ends. In terms of population growth, cities are dead ends. Cities are where old people should go, be kept clean and orderly, but cities is where very old people should go. Everything is close by and crime free, and everything is close by. That's where old people should go. Young people should be given the opportunity to be in the country, outside the cities, in the suburbs, farther than suburbs, in the farms, 40 acres and a tractor. That's the only solution. You got to give them something to work with. And your system of capitalism has not, you know, Mr. Bill Gates can do everyone a favor, owning all the farmland that he owns, and even buy even more and start doing exactly this. 40 acres and a tractor, I guess up to $1 million in construction loans on approved concepts. Build a industrial silo. Somebody's going to use it for something. Eventually you will find something to do in this big silo. Construction loans. So that's what Bill Gates can do. The best thing he can do with his money is do this. Start distributing that land for men of 18 to 35. That's the only way you can, do a move without creating inflation. You pull young men out of cities who have some abilities, out of the cities and leave the cities to old people. And the crime of resentment becomes zero. Then Antifa goes out. Here's the thing, Mr. Elon Musk. Once you start cracking down on these private individuals with private resentments towards the upper class in the cities, once you start clamping down on those people who punched your mother's friends in the face, if you start clamping down on those people without addressing the underlying issue about resentment of their economic, social condition, if you start clamping down, they go underground. They start forming the Nazi groups and the socialist groups and the communist group and the anarchist group. Exactly what happened to Germany. You see, they went underground. They start clamping down overground. Bring order with an iron fist and blah blah this and blah blah that. They all go underground. Antifa is a prime example. These blood brothers and the blood fathers and this and proud boys and less proud boys and more proud boys and militia this and militia. These are resentful people who are going underground. Address why they're resentful. Why they loot is for the same reason those other guys are forming a militia. For the same reason those guys are in a gang, because they're resentful of their situation. Address that, then most of the crimes are crimes of resentment, crimes of necessity, crimes of need. You take this out by creating some kind of economic condition which is sustainable. Economic condition for most of the people which is sustainable. That's how you get rid of most of these crimes. crimes of necessity, crimes of resentment, crimes of uh, need, and crimes of, you see what I'm saying? Again, crimes of necessity is what, Martin Luther King and those people did, what the ANC in South Africa did, what the October 7th in Israel happened. It's a crime of necessity. They're getting fucked up the ass. So once they keep planning, like people who keep planning on the prison break, except their prisoners are, the orderlies in the prison have a bigger piece of land than the prison is. Again, but the way you want this to go, that you start saying that yes, we also have domestic terrorists, Antifa is domestic terrorists, and these people who punch people, rich people in the face are terrorists. Those other people are terrorists. These are domestic terrorists. These are. If you go down that path, that's the path of fascism. That's the path of there's so many terrorists, even domestic terrorists, that we have to erect a wall in the middle of the city, and because we can't house half of the cities, so we just let them live in their own home, but we just put up a nice wall to keep the nice people, nice rich people safe from the poor resentful people. Any question? It's just, it's that simple, but you guys are out of touch. You start going on and on about, some kind of order has to come in with some kind of, Mr. What's his name? Bukele. Bukele, I don't know, with the population, Nicaragua, El Salvador, with a population of, I don't know, 10 million, 20 million, around there somewhere. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but he had to put like 75,000 people in prison. 75,000, and his population is like between 10 and 20 million who live in El Salvador. 75,000. In the city of Los Angeles, you gotta put a prison up which can hold, like, comparing to population, 75,000, 80,000, 90,000 petty crimes go to prison, 100,000. Before long, you will have the poor city, which is a big prison, and Johannesburg. And the situation in South Africa, the situation in Israel is not only racial, it's also economical. It's sort of like, we don't have poor white side South Africans. Yeah, they all have some kind of ability, good amount of abilities. Therefore, many of them didn't get poor. But also, here's an anecdotal thing that yes, race does matter, Mr. Elon Musk. This idea that we all start from equal footing. No, you didn't start from equal footing because of your intelligence. Mr. Trump didn't start from, zero, because of his royalty, because of his, family opportunities that, last name Trump brought about. There are some opportunities that comes up when you have a last name like Trump. That, it doesn't come up if you have a last name Abdul. So my point is this: you don't, and neither of you get it. Here is an anecdotal evidence. Uh, there is a well-known real estate corporation, Keller Williams. They had an office in Phoenix, Arizona, in Camelback Road. They're very well known, and a conglomerate, a very big corporation. So I went to many real estate as a realtor. I got my license. It's not too hard to get a license in real estate. There are 90,000 realtors in North America. But the point is this: I became a realtor. I went to many different brokers, and none were willing to uh, allow me, accept me as an apprentice. You see, the kind of capitalism that you have put together is mostly based on who who do you know. As you know, is based, if you don't have exceptional abilities like you, as Elon Musk, if you don't have that, the rest of us mortals, it's all about who do you know, not what you know. And especially because what you know is relative. Not everybody can be a genius, have a photographic memory. So what you know is very limited for us mortals. The result is that we can't really break out on our own, as you have done, and as Mr. Mark Cuban has done. We're normal people with normal mindset, not exceptional. So you're not exceptional. 90%, 99% of us are not exceptional, and we also don't enjoy a royalty, having a well-known name like Mr. Trump. So when I went, as many as these real estate places I went to, and wanting to be an apprentice of somebody who is making it good. So in order to get into the game of knowing people and trying to make some money, what is it all about? Who do you know? What you know is not that important, especially in real estate. And in most of these jobs that are available to people who are not geniuses or very well good entrepreneurs. So, but nobody was willing to do that. And the last one was Keller Williams, after which I basically gave up after 10 years of not only becoming a realtor, but also a broker. Meanwhile, after 5 years, I got a broker license. Then I went to Keller Williams, and everything was fine, hired, but we're not going to, nobody here is willing to, accept you as an apprentice. Uh, After so many, you basically give up, and you understand that no, unless, because people with even less abilities than I was given an inside track to be in touch, to get in touch with the right people. You know, a humble individual such as I wasn't in drugs, so I couldn't, buy my way into these inside circles through providing drugs. I couldn't buy my way through these inside circles through providing them with prostitutes. I couldn't be a prostitute myself. So all of these put together meant that basically I wasn't able to get into the circles that I needed to get into if I need to make it good in real estate. That avenue is not open to me, but it is open to people with even less abilities than me, but because they're somebody, they come from a vagina that is recognizable for a group of people which are important enough. You see what I'm saying? So you guys do not have a concept of these different levels of crime. Neither you nor Trump. He's always been special. I went to talked about the apprentice. Is that, for example, in case of Mr. Trump, he became the apprentice according to this, what I've read, and recently this movie that is coming out. He became an apprentice of Roy Cohen. Now, Roy Cohen was working for Senator McCarthy. Now, when you're somebody who's working for Senator McCarthy, You don't pick any chump to be your apprentice. But you may pick a trump to be your apprentice. So you see what I'm saying? The name recognition, the place in the society has helped people like Trump, 90% of the 1%, and the 10% like you who have the abilities, you also lost touch. You don't understand about people who don't have a last name and who don't have an exceptional ability. They're normal people. They need to eat, they need to have families. But your society is not interested in that. And they're resentful because of it. So they form Antifa. So they punch people in the face, then they riot, then you clamp down on them, they go underground, they form anarchist groups and communist groups and socialist groups and this groups and bad boys and proud boys and this boys and that boys. Fix this problem. Don't go after fixing the symptom. Don't clamp down on the drug addicts. Find out why the society didn't need their skills enough that they wouldn't find themselves at the back of an alley with four other drug addicts and being, becoming involved in drugs just because, hey, I'm sitting here in my own shit with nothing to do, with no self-respect left because the society didn't need my skills. And I'm resentful. Yes, I'm going to do drugs instead of going punching people in the face. Some people exhibit their resentfulness by using drugs, and some exhibit their resentfulness by punching people in the face or slamming planes into buildings. Fix the problem. Why the Arabs are so resentful of you in the, of white people in Northern Hemisphere? Why the Arabs are so frustrated? You haven't noticed? You've been bombing the shit out of them for 100 years now. At least 50 years. You were bombing the shit out of East Asia 50 years before that. For 50 years before that. Then before that you were bombing the shit out of Europe. Fuck. And you say why they're resentful. A raper is asking the rapee, why do you resent? No, Mr. Elon Musk, I'm sorry. Gavin Newsom is right. Can't, at least at this time, nobody can sell the idea of let's put up a wall in the middle of the city and push the brown and black people on the other side of the wall because they're poor, they're Gazans. That's a stupid solution. Give them 40 acres, give the young 40 acres of land and a tractor with lots of loans and grants and send them packing to the countryside. That's the solution. Most of these crimes drop, most of these militias dissolve, most of these underground resentful groups that are forming, they go away. All of it. One stipulation: nobody can sell or lease their land for 25 years. Thank you very much. Salute.